Well, hello, Patriots. It's good to be able to spend some time with you. I've been thinking about you, wondering what you're up to, and I hope all is well. Hope everybody's happy today. Hope you're not asleep. My name is Mrs. Kohli. If you don't know who I am, I'm one of the third grade teachers and second grade teachers here at Forbes Elementary School, and I look forward to this opportunity of talking to you a little bit more about bar graphs. Raise your hand if you know anything about bar graphs. I bet you do, because every day, or not every day, but just about every day, you probably deal with bar graphs or data that's used in bar graphs. But before we get started on this lesson, I thought it might be fun to take a minute and share a couple jokes. See if you know my jokes, just to get us warmed up for this topic. But before we do that, I'm going to just have you look back here at my calendar. And it's not March 17th anymore, but hey, I'm wearing my green. Hope you had a happy St. Patrick's Day. Today is the 20th, March 20th. It's a Friday. And like I said, we're going to be learning. It says, how do you obtain useful information from data? So you're going to be thinking about that a minute. These are vocabulary words that I'm going to be going over in just a second. But before we do that, I want to warm us up with some good jokes. So it's always good to laugh throughout the day, have fun doing whatever it is that we're involved in. So let's try a couple jokes. First joke, what do you give a sick lemon? Did you say lemonade? Is that what I heard? Awesome job, you got it. Let's try another joke. So this joke is, what did the science book say to the math book? Oh, almost. Try it again. Now you got it. Nope, super close. So the answer is, wow, you've got problems. And guess what? We've got problems too here in math. We got lots of problems that we got to tackle today. So hope you like my jokes. And let's start talking now about what are these scaled bar graphs. So first thing, in order to know what a scaled bar graph is, let's understand what is a scale and what is a bar graph. So a scale is a set of numbers that represents the data organized into equal intervals. And we're going to take a look about what does this scale look like. I'm sure you're thinking of probably a scale that you step on when you want to weigh yourself. Oh, I weigh 100 pounds, that kind of a scale. But what we're talking about today is a little bit different than the kind of scale that you're used to. So it's the arrangement of our bar graph. What are those sections that represent the bars of our bar graph? So we're going to discuss that here in a second, but just throwing out some vocabulary to you boys and girls. The next thing we need to know is, what exactly is this bar graph that we're going to be, looking at, doing some drawing to. We kind of got to know what it is. So a bar graph uses bars or rectangles that go up in a certain space of different lengths or heights to show data. In second grade, you used a bar graph with a scale of 1. A scaled bar graph can use a scale greater than 1. And so if you are one of my second graders who is watching this video, just know that in second grade, we just have our scale represent 1. However, now that you're in third grade or you're a second grader learning some third grade math, just know that our scale is going to change this year. It's going to get a little bit more advanced, but you boys and girls are ready for this. Okay, before we go to our next slide, I'd like to ask a question to you. Stop and think. Here we go. Have you ever created a bar graph to represent your data? If so, I'd like you to share your knowledge of a bar graph with a family member, a family pet, or just yourself here right now, just speaking to me out loud. Just pretend that I'm right there with you and tell me all of your personal experiences that you'd like to share when you've actually drawn a bar graph, or seen your mom's bar graph, or seen your teacher's bar graph, or in a newspaper, wherever you've seen these bar graphs before. So let's take just a couple minutes and do a reflection, do a think aloud, and you can share this with whoever you want. I'll just kind of sit there and listen to you too. Go. Awesome. Good job with that. You got it. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you answering my question. Hey, next, we're actually going to take a look at the difference between a tally chart and a bar graph. So many of you probably recognize this now that you've seen it. So a couple days ago, Mrs. Walton was talking to you about tally marks and how we take these symbols that are represented with lines and diagonal lines as units of measurement, and we can add them together, such as we take this as a set of 5, and we would say 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 1 makes 11. So as we think about our bar graphs, it takes at least 3 steps to get to this. Well, actually 4 steps, because we need our survey to collect our data, and then as someone is giving us the answers, we record our data in a tally chart, which you see here. And then we would have our frequency table, which you don't see here. And then we would take the numbers that we have collected from our frequency table and then put them in bars. This, as you can see, is the scale. Second graders would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each of those lines would have been 6 bars. However, now that we're a little bit more advanced and we're learning so much more about math, we're ready to change our scale to, as you can see, this is skip counting by 2. So each bar represents 2 votes. Or in this case, May birthdays. 2 May birthdays. Because it's always important to read what the title of your survey is, or of your tally charts, or your bar graph, which we have blank right now. So that's one of the things we need to work on together, is we need to make sure whoever's looking at our data, they know exactly what they're looking at. That's where the title comes in. Just like when you read a story, you want to know the title of the book. You don't want to just be handed something and not know what exactly it is that you're reading. So as you begin to create bar graphs on your own, don't forget the title. Okay, title is going to go here. Then as you're trying to design your bar graph, think of the scale. If you have a lot of votes, you maybe don't want to have increments of 1 or a representation of the scale being a 1. This person was very smart because they had a lot of votes up here, as you can see. It's not to 12 and it's not at 10. It's halfway between 10 and 12, which makes the number 11, as represented here by the second grade students at the school. So let's kind of take it to the next level. So as we're looking at this information, we look at the title. I see May birthdays. And then you can also see that they also have a heading for who it is that, for whose data this is. Who does this represent? And it's different grades. We could say Forbes Elementary, or we could say any school we want, Legacy Elementary, but it's some recorded data from some school somewhere. So as we look at this tally chart, we can see that the first grade class who had May birthdays, there were how many students? Show me with your hand. 5. Got it. Okay, then in our second grade class, how many students had May birthdays? And again, we already counted this one, so if you remember, that answer was 11. So for you second graders that are learning this with me, you represented 11. And then for the third graders, it looks like their data looks like 3 students. 3 students had May birthdays. And then for fourth grade, show me with your fingers how many students are represented as having a May birthday, and the answer is nice, 4. And for the students in 5th grade that have May birthdays, the answer is, show me with your fingers. You got it. Peace out. Just kidding. Okay, next. What we're going to do next is we have to make sure we title this and this. So let's see if I can go ahead and write. This is my first time doing this, so don't laugh, okay? Please. I'm going to do green, and I'm going to write May. Try to do this a little faster. I know we don't have all day. And I like green, so of course, and it's St. Patrick's Day, so I've got to write in green. I'm going to say B days. We've been learning a lot about abbreviations, and I like to use this abbreviation. You just get rid of the word birth. You just make it B day. Maybe you've heard your mom or dad talk about your family birthdays by calling them B days. Who has, as they write notes or something, whose B day is it on the calendar? Okay, now we're official. So we have the title and we have our data recorded. Let's double check and make sure that the student that completed this did it right. So we can see the information recorded here. This is called a vertical bar graph. The bars are going up. So let's start here in first grade. And again, we have learned that each of these bars, or these sections that go up the graph, this is called one bar, this is another bar, this is another bar, another bar, another bar, and another bar. But halfway in between it, if we think of our fractions, so halfway is going to be 1, then it goes 2, up to this line is 3, this is 4, up to this line is 5, this would be 6, this is going to be halfway between it is 7, if the bar hit this line it's 8, halfway between it is 9, 10, etc., etc. You kind of get the idea. Okay, so if I was going to color in this bar, I would go to first grade and I would go up to 4, and then I would say to myself, and if you want to, you can color it up to 4, and then you're going to say, okay, halfway between 4 and 6 is 5, and maybe even just draw the line halfway, and then you could just color in that little additional bar. That's kind of what I like to do. And everybody kind of has their own style of doing this stuff. There's not one right way. Whatever works best for you is the way you should be doing this. But anyways, I'll give you some of my ideas just through my experience doing these bar graphs. Okay, now I'm going to go to second grade, which is listed here. And I noticed if I was to do my frequency chart, you know what? It's okay to write a frequency chart. Sometimes even though it doesn't say frequency chart, hey, why not just record our data? It makes it that much more accurate. So I would put 5 here. And again, we said 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. So I'm going to go ahead and write my frequency information here. I've got, you said 3. So I'll write 3. And then you said 4. Wow. That's not a very nice looking 4. And then I've got 2. And if you write it here, then you don't worry about making a mistake. Then you can go immediately from here to here. So I'm kind of showing you the next step that you'll be learning here in a minute, and something that you'll be using on your homework. Okay, so we're now to second grade. And as you can see from my frequency table, it says I need to create 11 bars. If you want to, just count by twos too. This is another idea. So you would go to the line and say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And now I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to just divide that line just in half. And then I would color it in and say that's 10 plus 1 is 11. Yes, that's what I needed. Okay, now I'm going to go to third grade, and our frequency table says 3 votes. So again, I would count by 2, 2, and stop. And then I would say, okay, 2 plus 1 equals 3. Yay, I did it. Okay, now I'm going to go to fourth grade, and I look at my frequency table, and it says 4 votes. This makes it really easy because we don't have any halves. So I would go 2, 4, draw my line at top, and then color it in. And then when I get to fifth grade, they have 2 votes, which, they made it really easy for us. So I would start at the bottom, and I would say 2, and I would stop, and I would just color in that bar just like so. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you got it. You ready now to move on to the next level? Let's try it. We got this thing. Okay, now we get to kind of create it together. This time they gave us our frequency table, so we don't need to worry about the tally marks. So they saved us on one of our steps. I'm just trying to, so anyways, that's what the little sticky note says. We're going to transfer this data to our actual bar graph. So we have to look at the scale here, and we're going to look and see what it is. So you can see that the animals are now going up this way. As you take these different, the title, the headings, we need to put them in their specific location. So again, this is called the what? You're right, the title. So I'm going to just put lifespans. I don't have time to write the word life, but if you like to write small and if you like to write more words than me, you can go ahead. I'm going to make a really big icky dot. And then I'm going to write F and an E, and I'm going to do spans. I thought this was a fun one to do because for this bar graph, because we are studying in second, and my third graders are learning a lot about animals right now, and we are studying a ton about lifespans, and so very appropriate for what we're learning about with our animal research time. Okay, so we've got the title recorded appropriately, and now it says the animal. So as I look here, I see lion, hamster, kangaroo, and rabbit. Does that represent my frequency? No. Does that represent the animals that I got recorded data on? Yes. So here, it's going to be tricky, but you can see how it has time years here. That's the time and years here. So this is really going to be hard for me to do. I'm going to kind of turn myself as I do this, and I'm going to try to write animal on the side. I've never done this before with my mouse, and so this could be really kind of sloppy, so bear with me here. Again, we are positive patriots, and we try new things, and we're resilient. We don't get upset and angry when we have to do things that are hard for us. And sure enough, look at what Mrs. Kohli just did. I am proud of myself. I wrote on the side. Okay, now down here what we have to look at is what is our scale going to be? So I have 7, 5, 2, and 10. Do I have 10 boxes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No. So I can't do what probably the second graders would want to do, and that's scale it to 1 year. 1 bar equals 1 year. So we can't do that. But we do start at 2. So yeah, we could say every bar equals 2 years. Just 1 second. I want to check one thing here. So be thinking about how would you do it. And let's get started. So we know that on a number line with whole numbers, we always start our number line, especially this is like a line, what's called a line segment. So if you've had some geometry, you know when you have a point and a line, it's called a line segment. So we're going to start this line at 0 for our whole number, and then we decided we're going to count by 2s. So I'll go 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, oops, whoa, wow, and this is going to be 12. Okay, let's see if we have enough bars to put our data in. So you can either start just 1 second. I want to check one thing really quickly. This is looking a little strange. Okay, we're going to do a horizontal bar graph, which is going to be very challenging for me to do with my computer like this, but so when you look at this, you're going to actually, like I said, this is horizontal because the bars go out this way. The other one was vertical. Horizontals are a little tricky, but we've got this. I would suggest starting with rabbit, just because that kind of will help us get started. So as we look at the rabbit, we see that it has to have 7 years. Its lifespan is 7 years. And we know that each of these bars represents 2 years. So this would be 2, 4, 6. I'm going to stop on my 6. And then I'm going to go halfway between 6 and 7 because I know that 6 plus 1 is 7. So I'm going to go ahead and mark myself right here. And then you're going to have to take it and you're going to draw it back this way to the left, draw it back to the left, and then you've made what's called a bar. Then you can color it in. Have fun with it. Don't get carried away though. Try to stay in the lines. Develop those fine motor skills. Okay, so that's good enough for me. I'm not going to do it just perfect, but that gives you an idea of what it would look like. Okay, next animal is what? Yeah, the kangaroo. Kangaroo has how many years of life? About 5 years. So again, we're going to start at 0 light, and we're going to count this way. And every time we touch the line, we count by 2. 2, 4. And I'm going to stop, because if I count again, I'm going to get to 6, and that's too big. So we got to stay either below the number or on the number. We can't go above it. So we're at 4, and then I say, well, what's 4 plus 1? And it's 5. So I'm going to add halfway between it is the 5 mark. And then use your best coloring skills possible. If you have crayons at your house, this would be a good time to get those crayons out. If your mom doesn't have you, or your dad hasn't got you any crayons, be a problem solver and just use your pencil or whatever writing utensils you have at your house. And the next one is hamster. And how many years is the lifespan of a hamster? And the answer is 2. So that's a really easy one. So we know we go from here to here, and we're counting by 2s. So we're going to stop at the line, and we're going to make a bar out of the line, which is pretty much just different kinds of rectangles. And this one I'm going to do just swirly lines just for fun. And the last one is a lion, and it lives for how many years? Here it is, 10. So you can also come and touch it here and then just follow it up. I'm just kind of showing you different ways that you can mark these lines, whichever one's easiest for you. Again, there's not one right way. There's lots of right ways. So you choose what's best for you. Whatever makes sense to you is what you're going to want to choose. I'm going to see what this thing does. Maybe it will just like really color it in. No, I think it's an eraser, so we definitely don't want that one. Let's go back to this, but I can do this. Oh, it's a highlighter. How fun. Okay. So I ended up marking the lion with the highlighter, and that's good too, because it kind of shows us which animal lives the longest. I better mark it right up against this line. Perfect. Okay. Are we done yet? Well, it says nope, because after that we're supposed to answer this question, and it's right here. How many fewer years does the hamster live than the kangaroo? Okay, so we need to now mark. We're going to be comparing two things, and so you can look at it here and mark this answer and compare this one to the kangaroo to answer this question. Or you could look right here at your data that you've collected on your bar graph, and it says hamster is here. So I'll just mark it here with my highlighter here. And the kangaroo is here. So if you wanted to, you can just do one of two things. You can write out a number sentence. So let's start on this side and see how we would do this one. If you were to write this into a number sentence, would we be adding these numbers together when we're comparing a hamster to a kangaroo? Remember, we always like to plan out. We always like to plan out our story problems. And so it says fewer, and it has the word than. So we know this is subtraction, isn't it? So we would say, and always start with the bigger number, so we would say 5 take away 2 equals what? 5 take away 2 equals 5 take away 2 equals what? 3. You're right. So the kangaroo, which is 5, lives 3 more years than the hamster does. That's how you interpret that, or you make sense out of that number sentence. And then if I wanted to come over here, I could just use the bars to count. So I would go from here to here, and I would say, okay, the kangaroo lives 2 plus 1 is 3 more years than the hamster. So that's two different ways of looking at how can I answer questions that have to do with my bar graphs. Nice. Okay, the last thing is thinking aloud we always want to start with what we know. This time it's going to be a little bit more challenging of a subtraction sentence. You can see it says subtract. So we know our number sentence is going to be a subtraction sentence. It says, remember to write down a number sentence to show your thought process. We don't want to just come up with an answer. I know many of you like to just give your teacher an answer, but I know I don't like to accept just answers. I like to know how my students are thinking. So let's just always be willing to take that extra effort and write down what we're thinking by creating a number sentence, or what third graders call an equation. Okay, so in order to do this, I need to read my sentence, I need to understand the facts, and then I need to go and go back to my bar graph or my charts that I have and come up with the numbers that it wants me to look at. So let's read the sentence together. Which two animals, when you subtract their lifespans, will equal the lifespan of the hamster? Okay, so this is a two-step math problem. So let's stop it and look at the first step. So we're looking for two animals. We're trying to understand this. I have two animals, and we are going to be subtracting as our plan. So I know this is a subtraction problem. That's my plan. And I'm looking at my bar graph to find out which two animals, when subtracted, will equal the hamster. And the hamster is, this is my other little problem, I need to know how many years is the hamster. So let's go back to my back slide. Let's go ahead and just look and find out how many years does the hamster live, and we decided that was 2. So I'm going to divide my paper in half. This is my first step. I'm going to need to play around with things, play around with my numbers, and find, if I subtract 2 animals, which ones are going to equal 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some options here. And then we'll write this up over here. Okay. So we could start with these. If we subtract the hamster from the lion, is it going to equal 2? Well, the hamster has 2. So if we say 10, take away 2, is that going to equal 2? And the answer is no. So let's try the lion and the kangaroo. If the lion is 10 and the kangaroo is 7, if we subtract 10 from 5, is that going to equal 2? And the answer is no. Okay, now let's look at the lion. If we have 10 years for the lion, and we subtract from the years from the rabbit, if we take the rabbit's years and subtract it from the lion's, what will we have? So the rabbit is 7. So if I take the rabbit's years of 7 from my 10, what does that leave me? So let's start here, and we would go 2. So this is 2 plus 1 is 3. So that's not going to work. So the lion is out of the question. So now let's look at the hamster and the kangaroo. So we're trying to find something that we have a gap of 2. Well, I can already tell that this one to here is more than 2. So that combination is not going to work. And if I look from here to here, so the rabbit is 7 and the kangaroo is 5. If I go from here, so this is a half, plus a half is a whole. So if I was to stop here, what does that equal? So we have 7, and this is 5. So 7 take away 5 is 2. So using a bar graph, it really shows us what these numbers really mean. So this is a great example of why a bar graph is an easy way to answer those questions, because we could see that if we have from here to here, that's going to be 1 year, and from here to here is 2. So we just solved it by using our bar graph. So we can now write it down. We're going to say the rabbit and the kangaroo. So 7 take away 5. So I would write 7 take away 5 equals 2. So which two animals? Well, then I'm going to need to write the animals down. So again, what did we say? You need to double check. It's the kangaroo and the rabbit, or the rabbit and the kangaroo. I'm going to write rabbit first because 7 represents the rabbit. So I would say rabbit. And if you don't know how to spell your words, again, you can always go back and check the spelling on the other page so you're not just guessing, especially with us being expert on all these animals. And kangaroo. So if I want to, I can put a comma between it. Whoa. So if you're having fun doing this, give me a thumbs up. If this doesn't make sense and you're not having very much fun, thumbs down. If you don't know, sideways thumb. So yeah, I got it, Mrs. Kohli. This is so easy. This means, I need a little bit more practice, but I'm getting there. Thumbs down means, what are we doing? I have no idea. Hopefully none of you are to this point. If so, you need to stop the recording and go back and listen to my voice one more time and try it one more time. So it's okay. Sometimes students and even myself, I have to listen to things or read things several times before I understand it. So if you're not understanding what I've said thus far, stop, rewind, and replay. Next slide. Okay. If you gave me a thumbs up or a sideways thumbs, you're ready to proceed on to our homework helper page. This is going to show you basically what I did a few minutes ago. They're wanting you to combine your first and second step together, which could be confusing for some students. Again, this is more advanced than what we did the screen before. So if you really like to challenge yourself, you can do first and second step all combined. But don't worry if this is too much. Okay, so it's showing you as you do your homework in just a few minutes, they're going to give you story problems and they're going to give you data and they're going to want you to take your tally chart or a frequency table. They're going to want you to draw in the bars, again, with pencil, lead is fine, like shading, or if you have a marker, crayon colored pencils would work great too for this activity. And go ahead and color in those bars. Again, what is this called? This is our title. The numbers going up, which are the numbers, represent our scale. And whatever this is, each line stands, you have to interpret it, and each line would represent 2 classmates. So you would read your story problem, and then you would be able to create a survey. This is your survey. You would take the survey and record the data from the survey. And then you would, if you want to, what I would do if I were you boys and girls is I would take and do my frequency table off to the side of here and then take these numbers, create your bar graph, and then you're ready to answer their questions that go along with these bar graphs. I hope this makes sense. I know that you're going to do a great job with this. Homework should be really fun. If you're a 3rd grader, you get to use the Google Classroom, which is the homework version of this, where you can type the answers in on your whatever tablets you have or Chromebooks or whatever devices you're using at your house to do this. If you are a 3rd grader but you don't have that accessible or available, again, I do have homework packets for those of you that do not have access to things or it's too hard to use the Google Classroom for math. I have got some packets available for both 2nd and 3rd grade students who have, 2nd graders definitely need it, and then some 3rd graders that are just having some issues, I guess, using the Google Classroom version of this. You're welcome to use my packets, and they're found in the office area. Hope everybody has a great job, I hope everybody enjoys this lesson and you enjoy doing your homework, and I hope you have just a great day today. Just know I really care about you, and I can't wait to see you soon. Thank you.